Just when you thought it was safe to go trick-or-treating, Michael Myers is back in Halloween. Justin, this is a reboot that's a sequel to the original, getting rid of all the other sequels that have happened over the past 40 years. How do you think this stacks up?
I think it does stack up. I think it's just par for the course, though. Like, it really doesn't take any risks. It doesn't do anything crazy. It doesn't do enough to make it stand out as a really good horror movie, let alone Halloween movie.
In trying to capture the spirit of the original Halloween, they bring back Jamie Lee Curtis. You have the John Carpenter score, that's back. A new updated version of that, but it's still by John Carpenter, who wrote and directed the original Halloween. So they also throw in these random nods to the original, but in all of this, and putting all this time and energy in doing this, they just kind of go through the same things over and over again. I feel like this is just a retread of past Halloween movies and like generic 90s slashers.
Well, I totally agree with you there. This movie does feel like it's straight out of the late '90s, horror movie-wise. You know, the motif and the feel and everything like that. So what's different about this, though, is that going into a lot of horror movies, you have your cast of characters, you know who's expendable, you know who isn't, and you just wait for them to be picked off until you get to the final battle. With this one, it's hard to tell who's expendable because they all seem expendable.
Yeah.
You know, so like you're not really rooting for anyone except for Laurie, and it's only because you're familiar with her.
They give her an interesting angle with this. She's a survivalist, kind of like Sarah Connor in Terminator 2, and similarly, I think that Michael Myers in this is kind of like the Terminator, this unstoppable killing machine.
Right.
She's been training for 40 years to do this, and because of that, she's sacrificed her family, her relationships, her connection to society.
Right.
So that's interesting that they make her kind of unlikable as opposed to past Laurie Strodes that we've seen in other sequels.
Well, and I think what's different than that is that Laurie Strode in the other Halloween movies was always a victim. In this, she was almost the predator.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's what made her, well, it definitely made her unique, but I don't know if it made her relatable.
That's true, yeah. I didn't feel an emotional connection to any of these characters. They throw in these twists that come out of nowhere and really don't amount to a whole lot. There's even a subplot in this involving Laurie Strode's granddaughter that just
has a terrible boyfriend.
Has a terrible boyfriend, and it just gets dropped at the drop of a hat, like and never referenced again. It's just setting up more people to get killed, or not.
Right.
So that was frustrating, and when we get to the big climax, when some people might get picked off, I just didn't feel anything. I felt like this was just a retread of other slasher films.
Right, I agree. And there is like, as you said, there is a twist in the middle that comes out of nowhere, but it almost feels like a twist for twist's sake because they don't even like linger on the explanation.
Right.
You know, so it's just, I think it was just meant to be shocking.
Yes. And this movie also has a problem with tone in general, that it's co-written by Danny McBride and another writer from Vice Principals that worked with David Gordon Green. And they do not know how to balance the comedy with the horror. It's on shaky ground, I feel like, the entire movie.
It's not bad. I guess I just wanted it to be better. So I think it's just average. I'm going to go straight down the middle, just a 3.
A 3 out of 5. I'm going to give it 2 out of 5. I think this is really for Halloween diehard fans only. That, yeah, it's about the most generic slasher that you could get, which is disappointing. To read my review, check out St. Joe Live in today's edition of the St. Joseph News Press, or go online to stjoelive.com and join me next week as I review Hunter Killer. Until then, we'll be live at the movies. See you later.